Rabbi said there's a Gemara in Megillah Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, Amud Beis. Well, the Gemara says as follows. It's a very, very famous Gemara. It's also a song. Mechayiv inish lebsumei bepuria adlo yoda bein oror haman lebarach Mordechai. So this is the makar for the song. This is the makar for the obligation, which is already put down in Shulchan Aruch, that there is an obligation for everybody to get completely plastered on Purim b'siyata d'shmaya. Now we have to understand and define, like everything in Yiddishkeit, everything has a definition. What is the definition of that? What does the Torah want from us? What does Chazal obviously want from us? What exactly are we expected to do on Purim to be yotze all the shitas? So, first of all, you have to notice as follows. The Gemara says that statement, and then the Gemara says a very, very interesting thing. Straight after the Gemara says Chayev Inish to get drunk, the Gemara brings a Mordika Maisa. And the Maisa is Rabbah and Reb Zera. Rabbah and Reb Zera tells us the Gemara were eating together on Purim, and they became drunk. And Rabbah killed Reb Zera. Okay, he killed Reb Zera. Okay, now the next morning he saw, this is a little bit of a problem. I don't think I meant to do that. So he did Tchias HaMesim, and he brought him back to life. The next year, Rabbah invited Reb Zera, would you like to come to my Purim Suda? And Reb Zera says, no chance. I'm not coming to your Purim Suda. Not in a million years. Why? Because Nisim don't happen every single year, and therefore I'm not going to rely on that. Now, I got this Emotika Marshal. The Marshal explains that Rabbah didn't actually kill Reb Zera, but rather he gave him so much alcohol that he became unconscious. The Meiri says the similar idea as well. But whatever it is, it was a Shailev Sakona, and that's why Reb Zera refused the following year to accept the invitation. Now, that is the Gemara. Again, we have a Gemara, Chayev Inish, and we have a story of Rabbah and Reb Zera. Okay, with different Pirushim, exactly in the Marshal and the Meiri, exactly what that means. Comes along the Rishonim, and they say there's a machlokes to understand Pshat in this Gemara. And this is a very, very big nafkamina to our Purim. Okay? Say the machlokes Rishonim, what is the Pshat that this story followed the obligation to get drunk? Okay? So Rabbeinu Ephraim learns Pshat like this. Comes along Rabbeinu Ephraim, and Rabbeinu Ephraim says that since the Gemara says Chayev Inish, and then it says this terrible story that happened, it shows you, what's the Gemara telling you? That we don't paskin like Rabbah. Not Chayev Inish. Right, we don't do it. You shouldn't do this. Right, drink maybe, but to get drunk so much? No. And that's why the Gemara brings the story afterwards, to show you, don't do it, don't do it. Yes, Chayev Inish, but don't do it. That's how Rabbeinu Ephraim learns. Most of our Roiv Minyan opinion of Gedolei Rishonim, including the Rif, the Rosh, and there's no Pasuk in the Torah, held Adarabah. What do you mean? The whole reason that the Gemara brought the story is to show us that we do Pasuk in Chayev Inish. Horaya, Rabbah, and Reb Zera, they did it. So in other words, say the Rishonim, the Gemara is telling us that we do Pasuk in Chayev Inish, because Horaya, the story. The story is a very important chelik of the halacha. Shulchan Aruch halacha l'maisa paskins like Rabbah in the Gemara, and therefore Chayev Inish. The Ramah brings other Rishonim that hold differently, which we will get to b'siyata d'shmaya, and we'll talk about that as well. Now, this is the Davar Pashat Admoid. Whenever we say getting drunk and simcha and everything else, we're talking about the simcha shel mitzvah, not simcha shel holiness and stam and shtusim and garbage and everything else. That's the Davar Pashat. But now that we've learnt the Gemara, now that we've seen the machlokes Rishonim, now that we've seen halacha l'maisa, after all of that, I want to give you, after that, okay, I want to dafka do it in that order. Gemara, machlokes Rishonim, halacha l'maisa. Now we'll go into some of the other shitas of Rishonim. Okay, so we've learned Rabbeinu Ephraim, we've learned the Torah, the Rosh, and the Rif. Now let's go into other Rishonim and see what do they say about this situation. So there is a Maril. The Maril brings down the Bach also that Oror Homon is basically gematria. Hello. 502, which is also the gematria Borech Mordechai. Now, if you cannot calculate this, says the Maril, you are drunk, and you are yotze your mitzvah on Purim of drinking, as I paskin the Bach and the Maril. The Bach brings another example. The Bach brings, I don't know what they gave you for breakfast over here. The Bach brings another example, and he says it's the order. In other words, the order of Baruch, Mordechai, and then Aruch Haman, if you mix up the order, says the Bach, now I'm Yaitza. Tosfos famously, in Megillah, tells us that if you confuse the song of Shoshanas Yaakov, now again, let's challenge, let's put the oil into the challenge right now and see what happens. Again, it depends what they gave for breakfast, right? You would be Yaitza, again, Tosfos brings Yerushalmi that holds that way. And then you got a Moedik, a Heiliges Sfas Emes. The Sfas Emes, which by the way, B'Sal Salanta, Zatzal passing is this way also. That he says a Moedik Yesait. What does this mean when the Gemara says Ad de lo Yada? Says B'Sal Salanta, and again, the Sfas Emes, the Ad de lo Yada is not a Chiv. Meaning, there's no obligation to get to Ad de lo Yada. Ad de lo Yada is a Patur. That means once I reach that stage, I am now potter from drinking more. But it will come out basically, according to Sfas Emes, according to B'Sal Salanta, that really a person has an obligation to drink the whole time and keep on drinking and keep on drinking and keep on drinking until you get to this madrega of Ad de lo Yada. Okay, now you can stop. But there's no obligation to get there. That's why some people start drinking straight after davening, and they just keep on drinking a low alcohol content, and they just keep on going, keep on going. There's no chiyuv to get to Ad de lo Yada. It's just if you got there, you're potter. Yeah? Hear the difference? Okay. The Ephraim also says he had a dream, and it says ad v'loy ad bechlal. That means not including that madrega, whatever it is. There's Rabbeinu Avigdor ala Torah. Rabbeinu Avigdor ala Torah is a Rishon, and he writes that the whole purpose of drinking or Purim is not for your own personal simcha. It's not for your own happiness. It's to make other people happy. And therefore, if you get to the madrega that you can make other people happy, then you're yotz the mitzvah. Rambam famously in Perik Beis in Hilchos Megillah says it's until the share that you fall asleep. The Kolboy says you drink a little bit more than you normally drink, and the Ramah pretty much brings both of those two, of the Rambam and the Kolboy, that you drink a little bit more and then go to sleep, and then you're yotza in that case over there, right? By the way, all of what I just told you, I wanted to add one Moedik addition. The Heilige Satmaruv once said about the Zayda, the Heilige Zayda, the Yismach Moshe, that the Yismach Moshe every year by the Purim Surah said 24 new pshatim in what does it mean Chayv Inish, right? 24 new pshatim the Heilige Yismach Moshe every single year. And what does it mean Chayv Inish to get drunk? But then he said, but the Ikar is Pasha Pshat. Now everything we've said is Gavaldik, but we have to remember that of course the mitzvah is to have simcha, and a simcha shal mitzvah, not a simcha shal hoylus and shtusim and garbage and screaming and shouting and cursing. Chas v'shalom. If somebody knows himself that that's going to be him, then obviously there's no mitzvah to drink. There's no mitzvah to drink, or maybe just have a little bit of sip of wine or something like that, but not more than that. But I want to talk about that right now as well. What are you meant to be drinking on Purim? What are you meant to be drinking on Purim? So if you look at Rashi, in the Megillah Daf Zayin on the base, the Rambam passing this way in the Rokeach, it's very simply Yayin. Why? Because the nace was done through Yayin. The whole situation, everything that went on over there with the Mishnah, the Simcha, the whole Haman, Achashverosh, Esther, everything that happened was only the Yayin. Mimelas, Rashi, as I pass in the Rambam Rokeach, that a person should dafka drink Yayin. However, if you've ever looked at the Yesod V'Shorish V'Avodah, an incredible sefer, we did it last year if you remember in Yonei Purim, and in Shari Yud Beis he brings down any alcoholic beverage is included in the mitzvah, and Rav Moshe in Tshuva in Igros Moshe has the same idea that anything you drink, you are 100% Yotz, and as I mashman the Aruch HaShulchan Sitkotten Hey, and as I paskin the Stipler in Aruchas Rabbeinu Chelik Gimel over there. Rav Vosna has a tshuva in Shevet Halevi Chelik Yud Simukov Zayin Sikotten Base that he says, what happens if a person doesn't drink wine? You have people that don't drink alcohol, right? You know, there are people out there that don't drink alcohol. So Rav Vosna says, what do you do? Comes Purim, what are you meant to do? Forget about what do you do with Dalakaisis. We'll have to get there when we talk about Hilchos Pesach. But when you talk about Purim, what do you do? So Rav Vosna says like this: if it's because you're allergic to it, or a person can suffer terribly from it, he can get his mom is allergic to it, or it's a real health situation for him, an older person for sure, then Avada, what's the Shaila? Then Avada, he's popped and he shouldn't do it. But if he just, I don't like wine, I don't like alcohol, that's too bad. Then you have to drink, you could be out to the Rambam, you could be out to the Kolboy, drink a bissel more, put your head down on the table and fall asleep, and you can be out in that way. I want to ask the Olam an interesting question. What happens if comes Purim, comes the Suda, which obviously, by the way, the Ikar Zman to get drunk is at the Suda. You have people that walk into the Suda drunk. Now that's a big problem because they end up not eating their Suda properly. There's a din Suda. A din Suda means you wash, you sit down, you have fleisch, you eat something. Not that you're walking completely plastered and running all over the place. That's not the point. You're meant to get drunk by the Suda. Right? Mitzvah Hashem. Sunday afternoon, Sunday late afternoon. This is what we're doing. This is a mitzvah that we're going to be doing by Ezra Hashem. But let's say a person Taki gets drunk. He misses benching. Or he misses Ma'ariv. What do you do in such a case? Is that okay? No, I'll tell you my chakira. Do we say the pshat is like this? Right now, there's a mitzvah for me to get drunk. Later on I'm going to miss the mitzvah of Birchas Hamazon, Ma'ariv and everything else. That's too bad. Because right now I'm oisik b'mitzvah. And if I'm oisik b'mitzvah, I'm potter and everything else. I'm right now oisik and getting drunk. I don't care what's going to be in 3 hours' time. Am I mechoyev to care about what's going to be in 3 hours' time if I'm a mitzvah right now? Or maybe we say no. Avadu Mekayim this mitzvah. But if you know this mitzvah is going to cause you to miss another mitzvah, so you could do this mitzvah. Yeah, the chakira, right? Okay. So there is a Prima Godim in Reish Samaches. The Prima Godim in Reish Samaches brings down a very interesting thing. He talks about on a Friday night, people that rush their Shemona Esra in order to do daven vayachulu with the tzibur. Right, there's an Indian to do dafka v'choda with the tzibur. We're not going into it now. So he rushes the Shemona Esra, and he says that's what you should do. In other words, you should daven a little bit faster to make sure that you say v'choda with the tzibur. Now hold on a minute. Right now I've done Shemona Esra. What do I care that in 5 minutes when the tzibur finished and the shtik tzibur says v'chulu, I'm not going to be with him. Right now I'm davening. Elamai, you see from the Prima Godim that there is an Indian to look at hanoila, right? To look at what's going to be in the future to see. I'm not going to be able to make that mitzvah. I've got to be careful of this mitzvah. So according to that, it could be that a person has to be careful. If he gets drunk, then he knows that he's going to miss Birchas Hamazon or Ma'ariv. He has to be careful. The problem is there's a Radvaz. The Radvaz and Chelik Dalet Siman Yud Gimel, Mr. Rob brings it Siman Tzadi as well, that says if you have a choice to daven mincha now or any other mincha at a choshev time, which one would you choose? Right? Let's say, for example, you could choose mincha now or choose mincha on Yom Kippur. For some reason, let's say you're in prison. I don't know. Chas v'shalom, not you. Someone was in prison and he was able to make such a choice. Which mincha would he choose? The mincha of Yom Kippur or the mincha of a Wednesday afternoon? Obviously, the mincha right now. Because the mitzvah's in front of you, you gotta chop it. As I stated in Radvaz. Who cares? I'm going to miss Ma'ariv. Who cares? I'm going to miss Birchas Hamazon. I've got to do the mitzvah right now. So I don't want to go now into all the details and the different ways. We can spend a long time on this. But the Be'alach on Tofei Sadihei brings down that if a person is going to mezalzel in one mitzvah, in the Teles Yadayim, in Mincha, in Ma'ariv, obviously Mincha we do it before the Suda, but theoretically, Ma'ariv, what? That could be, but right now I have a mitzvah to do. And right now if I have a mitzvah to do, I'm okay. However, if I know for sure that through this mitzvah there is no way I'm going to bench, no way I'm davening Ma'ariv, then you got to be careful. And maybe don't drink so much. But I know it's hard for someone to say that, because often they can be benching a few hours later, by then the alcohol's worn off, and by then you will bench. Or Ma'ariv, you could do many hours later, right, before Chatzos. So you're okay in that case. Again, like the Mishnah Berurah says, the main reason why we're drinking is to have a simcha on Purim, right, and not just an excuse to harm people, chas v'shalom, to insult someone, chas v'shalom. People use Purim as an excuse. They can't say many things the whole year. But it comes to Purim, I'm going to get drunk and I can say whatever I want. Shem Yirachim. That person shouldn't touch a drop of alcohol. That's not what the mitzvah is for. That's not what the Rabban Shalom wants from you right now. To hurt somebody else, to insult somebody else, to embarrass somebody else. Absolutely not. That's not the mitzvah. Nobody can come along and say, I did that, but I was late to the mitzvah because I was drinking. Doesn't work. If you know that of yourself, don't drink. If you know you're going to get physical, don't drink. Right? You have to know yourself. Right? Everybody, leave your day Morris Nafshay. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. You have to be careful. It's a beautiful mitzvah. If it's done correctly, a person could reach heights that he may have never, ever reached before. Maybe we'll discuss this in Mitzvah Hashem, maybe Wednesday night. A person could reach heights on Purim that he can maybe never, ever reach the whole year. It's an incredible opportunity if it's done correctly, like everything else. Let me just, one last shaila for today, and that is an interesting one about damaging on Purim. Now, it happens sometimes a person is drunk and he damages things. He breaks a chair, he breaks a chandelier, he breaks something, a window. is he mechuyev to pay? What's the din? So there's a famous Gemara in Sukkah Memhei Amud Aleph, where the Gemara in Sukkah tells us at the end of the Yom Tov of Sukkot, people would take other people's esrogim and they would eat them. It was like a simon of simcha, of joy, of finishing Yom Tov. We finished the Yom Tov, how beautiful. No. Tosfos, over there in Megillah, explains, right, that he says that anytime you steal or damage someone else's property as part of the celebration, you're potter from pain. As I paskin Tosfos. The Rosh and other Rishonim are chaylik on Tosfos. And they say, no, the Gemara means not that you would take somebody else's esrog, chas v'shalom. You'd eat your own esrog. As a simon that we finished on to Mekayim the mitzvah. B'chas v'shalom, if a person was damaging somebody else, even if it's through the simcha, avadi yechayev to pay. And as I pass in the Matcha, Chumas Hadeshen, the Rivash, and as I pass in the Torah. The Ramah paskins like Tosfos. And the Ramah says, if the minig is that people grab away food without permission, then you're potter. And then he adds, if you accidentally damage during the simcha, during the celebration, you're potter. As I paskin the Ramah, it would come out to feed that if a person on Purim is drunk and he stands on the chair and he's getting the olam going, boom, the whole chair goes down, he doesn't have to pay. He's potter from paying. Comes along the Aruch HaShulchan, and the Aruch HaShulchan said, it's not Nageya. It's not Nageya. We don't have such a situation that a person, mamash, is oisik with simcha, and he's going to be damaged. I'll give you an example, by the way. I remember I was once by Rabbi Yisrael Orbach, many times, Baruch Hashem, but one of the times I was by Rabbi Yisrael Orbach, it was right after Simchas Torah, and a fellow came in with two shilas. Shilah number one, the Chosin Torah. He got an aliyah. Now, you know how it goes, right? The talis goes up, the olim are there, the olim are singing and dancing. It's moiridik. This guy, he was schwitzing. He was sweating. And the sweat was falling on the Sefer Torah, and it smudged out one of the letters. Now, it's going to cost money to fix that Sefer Torah. Does he have to pay? Question number two. There was one guy who was holding the Sefer Torah for hours and hours. He pushed it, wouldn't let go of it. He was holding it tight. It was beautiful. It was unbelievable. Mamish, his love of the Torah, his love of the Rabbeinu Shalom was unbelievable. But the problem is, they found out after this guy held the Sefer Torah, and it was obviously him because nobody else held it for so long, that he actually, through the tightness, he damaged some of the parshas, some of the scrolls, some of the parshas. He got a little bit ruined. Does he have to pay? That was the shaila, and we brought. This was the nakuda over here. Which be'etzim, if a person is doing it machmas the simcha, it could be that he's potter, which means that on Purim, a person has to be very, very careful, right? If someone does come to damage something, if he's doing it machmas the simcha, yesh maladaber, there's what to talk about. But he's doing it stum because he's in a bad mood, or he gets upset and he's embarrassing someone, or someone embarrassed him, and he happens to be drunk, so he smashes something. Avadis chayv to pay. So it means a person has to be very, very careful on Purim how he acts and how he drinks and how he makes sure he's mekayim this mitzvah. Rabbi said there's a few shalos we have to discuss. Number one, the nafkamina between Yerushalayim and everywhere else in the world. We also have to discuss traveling a bit. We also have to discuss going from Suda to Suda, which means sometimes a person will make a bracha in one person's house on something, and then he'll go to another person's house. Does he have to make a new bracha over there? But Siyata Deshmaya will continue tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.